Welcome to Table Talk. I'm your host, Karen Wilson. We have a great show for you today. We have certified life coach, Brenda Baird, and we're going to explore what it means to be coached and who benefits from a life coach. Welcome to the show, Brenda.
Thank you.
Well, and you've been here with us before,
Yeah.
not too long ago, actually, because you're part of the East Tennessee Gleaners
That's
Association
right.
as well. So welcome back to the show, I should say.
Yeah, it's great to be back with you.
Thank you. Well, okay, let's just jump into, I know there's people out there going, what is a life coach? I mean, we're hearing that term more, but just give us what your definition of a life coach is.
Well, a true life coach is someone who's gone through some certification and training that can help individuals to examine some of the challenges and obstacles that they might face in their life and help them to design a plan to overcome those and hold them accountable. You'll find there's life coaches for everything, whether that be fitness, spirituality. For me, I focus on leadership and career and life together, but there's a coach for just about every area of our life.
Well, with so many different aspects that we all want to work at all the time, I could see that. You do have different levels. You've got your personal life, sometimes your marriage, sometimes your, fitness goals and things like that. So that'd be very interesting to explore all the different types of life coaches. So tell us how it works. How is it really different from going to therapy or receiving what we think of as counseling?
So the major difference with coaching versus those other levels of support is that coaching really focuses on the present and the future. It helps you to understand where you are right now, a little bit about how you got there, but more importantly, how do you want your life to be? How do you want to show up in life? And then help you to examine that and then move forward. Where therapy and counseling can often look to the past for sources of pain and understanding why the pain is there and how to overcome it. Coaching is really about getting to this place where you're ready to make some changes, some real positive changes to get better results out of your life and to have a greater sense of peace.
Awesome. So that's kind of sometimes for some people maybe the next step.
It is generally.
Like you said, you've kind of hashed through and you understand why you are the way you are. Now let's talk about how to overcome that and move forward.
How do I want to be?
So you've got a personal coaching style. I noticed on your website it talks about core energy coaching. What is that?
So my coaching approach is really a blend of this scientific research-based coaching that's called core energy leadership. And I couple that with another coaching philosophy that's called narrative coaching. So what this does is it focuses on a person's energy level and what level of energy do they approach their life and how do they bring that to their work and to their relationships. And so it's focusing on their perspectives of the challenges or the potential challenges they have and how they go about the process of working through those. So many times people will feel like they are at the cause of their life, that they're the victims of their life. And through core energy coaching, we get them to find new perspectives on how they bring their energy to a situation so that they can have different opportunities. And with looking at these new opportunities, it gives them a greater sense of confidence and empowerment to make some changes so that life becomes easier.
When I was looking on that, it was so interesting. You had a graph on there and it had different lines and it showed, I guess you would almost start possibly in the victim mentality of, it could be like, somebody's mistreated me at work, or I'm not being treated fairly at work. And then I guess what you do is move down through the different levels of that until you're feeling more positive about how not the victim mentality.
Yeah. So the thing that core energy teaches us is that there's two types of energy. There's a catabolic energy, which are those two lower levels that you saw on the chart, levels 1 and level 2, where perhaps we feel angry, we feel resentment, we feel like we're in a victim mentality where we have no control over the situation and this is just how it is. That can be a very destructive level of energy. It sort of pulls us in and it really doesn't give us the kind of results in life that we want. There certainly isn't a lot of happiness there. But as we move into the next levels of energy, that's called anabolic energy, and that is a constructive level of energy which helps us to build our lives, to build possibilities. And oftentimes we will use all 7 levels of energy at one time. But if we stay down in levels 1 and 2, that's where our stress becomes out of control, where we feel high levels of overwhelm. We actually have to have levels 1 and 2 because if we jump out in front of a bus, we need to have that energy to move away from that. And that's kind of that level of energy. But when we stay down there, it becomes very destructive in our lives. And so we help people to take their situation of where they currently are, examine for them what's actually happening, and reveal sort of the thought patterns they might have. Oftentimes people will have patterns of thinking or negative thoughts, and if we can get them to just stop for a minute and just re-examine those thoughts, we can break through those negative patterns and they can come up with a different perspective on why things are happening. And when we're able to do that, we find more satisfaction, overall satisfaction in our life.
Now, can that, I guess, happen in reverse to where you coach someone who is maybe almost too laid back to the extreme, unmotivated, to where they really don't see repercussions for lack of initiative and things like that? So is there coaching? Can you coach the other direction?
Oh, absolutely. So the medium levels of energy, levels 4 and 5, are about how we care for others and we put others first. We know that if you stay at level 4, for example, which is our caregiver level of energy, if you stay there for very long, you can develop levels of burnout and again, levels of stress. So the real rule of thumb is wherever we are within the spectrum of energy, we know that we move up and down with those. It's good to care for other people. It's good to have concern for how other people feel. But when we constantly put that above the needs of ourselves, we find that we get into a deconstructive state. So examining what energy level people operate at what given situation, and then helping them to gain new perspectives helps them to have a more balanced use of their energy.
That's a good point. I never thought about that with caregivers and people like that. They can kind of get caught in that. And then you've got people who really have those tendencies who end up kind of with a doormat mentality that they feel like they're taken advantage of all the time, but they allow that because they're not utilizing, I guess, their other levels there.
That's right. They have a different perspective about how that makes them contribute to, and often we see this in work, how they contribute to work has to be about taking care of other people and getting the job done for other people, and people will just get into a state of burnout through really this caregiver kind of mentality where they don't feel like they can be successful unless they're helping other people.
Right. And then you have martyrs who are always, sacrificing, but they tend to kind of enjoy that, I guess. But that's not a good place to stay all the time.
It's good to examine sort of the hidden motivations behind that, about why they do that. What's the payoff? What does it cost you? Because whenever we get into these negative behaviors or this poor use of our energy, there is a payoff. There's a benefit and there is a cost. And the benefit has to be higher than the cost, or we just wouldn't do it naturally as humans, right? And so it's examining that benefit, and is that really real? And oftentimes we find that those thoughts we have really aren't true, true with the capital T.
Yes.
And so getting people to re-examine that and find out what the real truth is behind why they behave the way they do, why they feel the way they do, can help them choose a different behavior.
And then the coaching, I guess, teaches you how to
do that.
How to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about coaching on an individual. You've got individual coaching, and then you've got coaching for employees. How can a business benefit from coaching their employees? Sometimes people don't think, well, if you own a small business or just a business in general, well, that's, I'm paying you and it's not my job to coach you, but there's a real benefit to offering that to employees.
Yeah. So I believe that we're whole, that we're a whole person, and that we're capable, and that we also know what's best for us in our life. I also know that life bleeds into work and work bleeds into life. And so being one whole person, we have to examine all the thought patterns that happen that really drive all of our behaviors. So in the business world, for example, we know that it's working at a very fast pace. Leaders or managers or even individual employees are working with distractions, disruptions, usually a lack of resources or time, and working in this state of exhaustion and stress is almost the norm for us sometimes in the workplace. And so getting really clear about how we view the things that are happening to us, how we view the perspectives of what does it really mean to lead people through the challenges of the workplace, and examining what is true again about that can really overcome this overwhelm feeling that we have, this feeling of lack of time. All of those things are limiting beliefs that we carry with us, and unconsciously it walks through our days with us, and it drives the kind of life that we're able to experience. So in the workplace, if we know that perhaps we want to have greater impact as a leader, or we have to organize a new team and my team is riddled with conflict, coaching can help people to understand why that exists and how they can look at things differently to find a greater level of engagement in the workplace. So coaching can almost become an invaluable resource for a leader who's needing to lead people, and also an invaluable resource for people who are transitioning. So going from being an individual contributor to being a manager is one of the biggest psychological shifts people make in their career, because what got them to be successful as an individual contributor is not going to be the same thing that makes them successful as a manager. And so making that shift with them, it can be difficult. And most people, who leave jobs will say, I left because of a manager, right? Or my leader.
Right.
And in most cases, when we take a look at that and sort of deconstruct it, you'll see that the leader wasn't successfully able to transition from their individual contributor mentality into the new mindset of leading others to do the work.
Well, and I know a lot of people think that that's the golden ring they want to grab is management. And then when you get there, sometimes certain people aren't happy with it because of the level of responsibility and bringing others, creating a team and things like that.
Yeah. So many of my clients come to me because something needs to change. And oftentimes they're high achievers who have worked hard through their education and their training to sort of reach this pinnacle of the corner office, so to speak. And then they get there and they find they're unhappy and they don't understand why. So in our coaching, we are able to examine what are the motivations that you had behind all of this? What does all this mean to you? And sort of tear that apart and then rebuild it. In some cases, people will find that they just weren't viewing their life through the right set of glasses. Other people will say, this isn't what I wanted to do at all when I started down this path, and now I find myself here and this isn't where I want to be. And so we can then help them to create those plans for how do I transition, how do I know this is what I want to do, and how do I transition into that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll talk some about individual counseling for those that are not in the workplace.
Great.
But we'll be right back after this short break next on Table Talk.